Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with 16 unforgettable 12-tone rows I couldn't live without. You know, it's not fair that we go through list after list of luscious, delectable tonal or even quasi-tonal music. I knew it was only a matter of time before some of you demanded that I do a 12-tone list. Some of you already did that. I mean, some of you included certain works in your own list. So I knew what was coming down the pike. And I just thought I might as well, nip this in the bud and come up with my own list first. And I cannot wait to see what your list contains. I mean, this was really fun to do and really quite simple because my favorite 12-tone rows are, they're just at the tip of my tongue, as you will see. So let's get started. There are 16 of these, and I can sing every single one of them, probably better than I sing the tonal stuff. So we'll see how it goes. I begin with Aribert Riemann. Remember Riemann? Yes, he wrote that fabulous opera Lear, based on Shakespeare's King Lear for Dietrich Fischer-Dieskau. And it had that fabulous picture with him looking like he had icicles dripping from his brain in a desolate, empty stage on his knees. Well, that scene, that fabulous scene, has an amazing tone row. And Fischer-Dieskau, of course, sings it incomparably, but I can approximate, I think. It went something like, Was willst du mit mir, Goneril? Ich schlaf schlecht. I mean, voluptuous, isn't it? Absolutely unforgettable. So that's the first one, and I think you'll agree that that definitely belongs on any short list. And as with all these lists, by the way, you are free to use the ones I've selected, because I can't believe I'm the only one in the world who chose these particular 12-tone rows. 12-tone rows, not 12-tone rows. 12-tone, dodecaphonic, atonal, serial, whatever you want to call them. Those things. Oh gosh, they're so marvelous. So next, Heinz Holliger. Don't you just love Heinz Holliger? I mean, as a composer, he has written some of the most atrocious avant-garde music of the entire 20th century. But here and there is a gem. There really is. And this one particularly, I remember his string quartet, that horrible thing that the La Salle Quartet did, that was all about putrescence and dying swans and it was based on a Baudelaire poem, actually. I'm not sure what the poem behind this piece for oboe and string quartet is, but it's called Ofen geröstete Leichenstücke, which means something like oven-baked corpse bits. It's a very Heinz Holliger-ish concept. It really is. And the music is every bit as worthy of the title. The tone row in question occurs first in the oboe, and then, of course, it's canonically imitated by everybody else playing behind the bridge so that they make a sound that sort of goes kind of like that. It's very exciting. So after Heinz Holliger, we have the Jezebel of Darmstadt. How she earned that title, I have no idea. But her name was Ortrud Grobstein, and she wrote a piece called Schreckfeinpüffgeblach Katechismus. It's for consumer electronics. It's extremely avant as far as avant-garde stuff goes. Which consumer electronics? Well, there is some leeway. I mean, as long as it's a consumer product and it's electronic, it could be a transistor radio, it could be a stereo system, it could be a citizens band radio, it could be a walkie-talkie, whatever you want, a cell phone. You get a bunch of them together and you do something to them. I haven't seen the score, honestly. And what you get is Schreckfeinpüffgeblach Katechismus. It's extraordinary. And the note row is haunting. It's really, really, really haunting, especially when it's played on an old Panasonic console stereo. It's absolutely unforgettable, delicious. One of my absolute favorite 12-tone rows. Then there's Elliot Carter. Now, Elliot Carter was not a guy who was known for being sort of a jolly fellow. He was a serious guy. He did write witty music. At least he laughed. I don't know if anybody else did. But he wrote a piece. It's one of his least known works, actually. I don't understand why it's not as popular as the Symphony for Three Orchestras or some of those other multiple ensemble pieces, because this particular piece calls for 4 simultaneous chamber ensembles, each playing its own music at its own tempo with its own intervallic structure. But there is a tone row that runs through the entire work. And the work is called Alka-Seltzer III. Not Alka-Seltzer. Alka-Seltzer III. You have to observe the hyphen. If you don't observe the hyphen, then the work loses much of its charm, because he's not trying to merely give the musical equivalent of an antacid product. He's trying to give you the components of that product, hence the hyphen. Alka-Seltzer III, you see. But if you listen to all 4 chamber orchestras very carefully, you'll realize that when the tone row is played in all of its various permutations, that is cancresans backwards and inverted and then transposed up and down the entire, dodecaphonic panoramic scale thing, what you get is an actual tune. It's a little bit hard to hear because the notes are very widely separated, and the high level of dissonance prevents it from floating to the surface, but it sounds suspiciously like the commercial. Remember? Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. That's the tune. But it's extremely skillfully disguised and brilliantly arranged so that it only underpins the dialectical interaction between the various chamber ensembles. So Bridge Records is going to be recording it at some point. They're doing all that Elliot Carter stuff. And this may be the last major work of his that remains to be recorded. So I'm looking forward to hearing it very, very much. I've only been able to analyze it on paper. So, the Italian master, Salvatore Sciarrino. This is, he's a typical Italian. So much of his music is about food. And this is no exception. It's Vitello con vermi alla Fiorentina for solo cello. Now, this has an absolutely delightful tone row. It goes something like this. Yeah, I think that's it. And, the title, of course, means veal with vermin, I think maggots, Florentine with spinach. I mean, what's not to love? And of course, we can't leave out Pierre Boulez. One of his last masterpieces. It was a summation, actually, of everything that he stood for as a composer. I think because the title is reminiscent of other things that he did, the work hasn't achieved the recognition that it deserves in the Boulez canon, but it's called Notation sans Maitre Explosantes Selon pour cordes. It's for strings. So it's, you know what those things sound like. And if you know what those things sound like, then you know what this sounds like. All I can tell you is that the tone row is particularly exquisitely rendered by virtue of the inverted tetrachords that accompany most of the music, particularly the sans maitre and selon sections. You're going to love it. You're absolutely going to love it. Then there's Milton Babbit. This is a little controversial because, Milton Babbit was famous for writing an article called Who Cares If You Listen? It was asserting the rights of avant-garde composers to be avant. And he was a total serialist, Babbit was. But the truth of the matter is, he later said, because it was so, controversial, that that's not what he said. That was the title given by the publisher to the article, and not by Babbit himself. He was far more nuanced than Who Cares If You Listen. The actual title he wrote was Who Listens If You Care? Well, now, doesn't that mean something else? I think it changes the entire complexion of his work. I really do. I mean, he obviously had concern for his audience, and so the tone row in Who Listens If You Care, for soprano and tape, by the way, is really quite lovely in places. It's ah, 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 something like that. I may have left one out, but you get the sense of it. The rise and fall of it. I mean, it's quite similar to Somewhere Over the Rainbow, the way the melody just rises and dips. It has this wonderful sense of all-enveloping ecstasy. I mean, it's really quite extraordinary. After Milton Babbit, Sofia Gubaidulina. We all love her. I mean, wasn't she fun? We gave her a Lifetime Achievement Award, or something like that, at the Cannes Classical Awards. And afterwards, there was a dinner, a big award dinner, and I was very careful to make sure that I didn't have to sit next to her because I didn't know what language she was going to be speaking. And I put her next to my colleague, Christophe Huss, now of Le Devoir magazine in Montreal, because he could carry on in German, which is what she was speaking mostly because she lived in Germany for the latter part of her life. And afterwards, I said to her, did you have a good conversation? And he said, oh, yeah, we had a terrific conversation. I said, well, what did she talk about? He just looked at me and said, water. Well, that was very typical of Gubaidulina, wasn't it? I mean, she's tended to focus on things and then write extended works based on not what they actually were, not H2O, water, but the metaphysical implications of water. That's what she wanted to get at. And this is a piece that's in that tradition. It's called Diefenbacchanalia, and it's a concerto for wind quintet, Diefenbacchanalia. And what it's really about is the love life of a houseplant, a Diefenbachia. So it's a Diefenbacchanalia, get it? It's really a very clever title, I think. And the work has just a super abundance of joyful, bubbly, organic, manure-nourished tone rows. Lots and lots and lots of them. You could pick the one that you like best. I just think it has, more melodic richness from a tone row perspective than any dozen works by some of the more famous total serialists. It really does. It has so much charm and color and wit. And of course, that wonderful leafy green feeling. And there's water in it, because if you don't have water, you don't have a houseplant. So, it encompasses the wider metaphysical range of what she was all about. So after Gubaidulina, Anton Webern. This was a piece that was so short and aphoristic that after Webern died, they didn't even know he'd written it. But he did. The title is actually the tone row itself. The title is E, B flat, D, B natural, D sharp, G natural, C sharp, A natural, G flat, F natural, A flat, C natural. And it's for piano. And you only play it once. And that's it. So, I mean, if I should I try to do it? I don't know. No, I can't. It's too sophisticated. It really is. It's beyond my pathetic efforts at, amateur musicianship. It takes really serious chops to bang this thing out on the keyboard for the 3 or 4 seconds it takes to play. It's definitely a masterpiece, and it's none of the sets of the Webern complete works. Everyone has overlooked it. It's a scandal, absolutely a scandal. So, but you have it. That's it. I mean, you know the title. If you know the title, you know the work, and you can do it yourself on whatever instrument you have that makes notes. And I bet you could figure out how to play it very quickly. Maybe not as sophisticatedly as Webern intended, and maybe not with the right feeling for its inner substance. But hey, I mean, not all of us have inner substance. I don't have any inner substance. I'm completely external. So that's a masterpiece that I'm very, very proud to announce as one of my most unforgettable and glorious 12-tone row things that I can't live without. Let's see, what do we got after Weber? Oh, Charles Warrenin. Oh, my dear. Well, as you know, Charles Warrenin wrote an opera on Brokeback Mountain, which I saw, and I thought it was just about the most ugliest, awful piece of music with a terrible libretto, by the author of the novel, Annie Proulx. She should have just stayed away from it. Oh my goodness. It's just dreadful. And Warren, I think, knew that. I really do, because he wrote a sequel, which has yet to be produced. The sequel is Brokeback Canyon, because in the sequel, he and Annie got smart. They finally realized that if you're going to be a pair of randy homosexual cowboys cavorting naked in the wilderness, rather than doing it on top of a mountain where everybody can see what you're doing. I mean, it's just obvious to everyone. Do it in the canyon where no one can see what you're doing. That was the way that they should have done it. And so Brokeback Canyon is the happy-go-lucky sequel to the tragic Brokeback Mountain. And the tone row in this case is very, very singable. It's a duet. The Act 1 duet, What the Hell Are We Doing Here? And Why Does It Feel So Good? It has a wonderful, wonderful tone row. What the hell are we doing here? And why, oh why, does it feel so good? I mean, it's unforgettable. It really is. I can't wait to see a production of the opera. I only found this tone row because I had a copy of the score. And I mean, it's a big sucker. But that particular passage just leapt off the page. Absolutely just transported me into another realm. It's absolutely splendid. Then, of course, there's Karl-Heinz Stockhausen. Now, when Stockhausen died, he left a whole pile of incomplete works, which are slowly being worked on and completed. It's taking quite a bit of time, because sometimes it's quite difficult to figure out exactly what his intentions were. And his notation was not of the tidiest. But Friedrich Serha, the guy who completed Berg's Lulu, he's very good at completing serial and avant-garde things. He's a serial and avant-garde composer himself. He finished this. We know what it was called. It's called Bloop. And after much effort, he discovered that Bloop was composed for it's composed for an Amazon delivery truck octet. There we go. It wasn't for the helicopter quartet. Was for 4 helicopters. No, these are Amazon delivery trucks. And the bloop in question is what happens when they toss the package onto your porch and it gets smushed and crunched, as so often seems to happen with Amazon delivery truck drivers. I'm very, very interested to hear it, because, Amazon had its issues with international delivery and other things. At the time Stockhausen was writing this, he was obviously making an anti-capitalist statement, which was one of his, bugbears, one of his preoccupations. So wait for the first recording. I understand, the publisher is Schott and Vergo, which is their house label, is going to record it at some point. It is really a masterpiece of imaginative post-Darmstadt serial thinking. And the title, Bloop, I mean, unforgettable, right? But the problem right now is that they have to negotiate with Amazon to get 8 delivery trucks. 8 of them. Why should there only be 4? I don't know. It's stuck in my head. But it's 8 Amazon delivery trucks have to perform this piece. I'm not quite sure what they do to perform it. All I know is that I've seen from the cover, it says acht trucky Amazon truck things, whatever it is in German. So anyway, Stockhausen. Then, oh gosh, Niccoló Castiglioni. Now, Castiglioni is an avant-garde Italian composer who is, I saw a performance of a work of his at Avery Fisher Hall. It was called Sinfonia con Giardiniera. This is kind of like, it really was. I'm not making these things up, as Anna Russell would say, like Sciarrino's veal thing. I mean, it's a con giardiniera. I mean, it's a salad, right? It's pickled vegetables. Those Italians, they're always into food. And this is not a food piece, actually. But I'll never forget the program note, because who was writing the notes? It was like Peter G. Davis or one of those people, the regular program annotator. And they had obviously given up, because they must have asked Castiglioni what the thing is about. And he wrote, We weren't able to get any information on this piece. The composer wouldn't speak to us. It's like 9 minutes long. Go listen to it. Well, it was very dodecaphonic, and so is this. This is Appunti di un manichino di un grande magazzino for soprano and ensemble. Notes of a department store mannequin. And I mean, it's got to be dodecaphonic. What else would a department store mannequin have to say that wouldn't be? I really have no clue. It has some lovely, lovely lyrical, high-flying, that wonderful contemporary sound. Those contemporary composers who like to torture sopranos by writing excruciatingly high 12-note pieces. This is that. This is one of those. It's in Italian. I can't sing it because I don't know exactly what the notes are yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Again, this is another work that I know from the score. I'm waiting for a recording to come out. I wish I could share with you the effusive splendor of the music and the way it's so emotionally affecting. It really is. It has just so much intensity and sincerity and lyrical sweetness. It's very, very special. I think the store must be Macy's. It's got to be. Anyway, Yanis Xenakis. Oh dear, I have a problem with this one. It's in Greek, and I can't read Greek. I have the title in Greek, and I have a recording from Greece. It's a special recording called The Unknown Xenakis. And it was recorded in Athens, and everything about it, the notes, the titles, it's all in Greek. So I guess they figured it didn't have an international market, which I can't imagine. But I do know the orchestration. It's got something to do with Dostoevsky. Something in here has to do with Dostoevsky. Anyway, I'm publishing the title below this so that you can look at it yourself, and maybe one of you can translate it or something. I tried to do it in Google Translate, and it said something like creaky Dostoevsky something or other. It made no sense to me at all. So it's for 6 trombones, flute, and percussion. And they play a lot. And of course, it's stochastic. It was generated by a computer program with random intervals, which assures that the 12 tones are even 12-tonier than they might otherwise have been. I mean, the main theme on the flute. I mean, absolutely unforgettable. So it's wonderful. And take a look at the title. Maybe you can explain to me what he's doing. I have no idea. I just know that the music hit me where I live. It just hit me in the gut. It was extraordinary. Harrison Birtwistle. Well, this is fascinating. This is a dodecaphonic revenge work. Because you may know that Harrison Birtwistle and Mark Anthony Turnage were sort of competing in the UK for the title of ugliest avant-garde composer who could write the most obnoxious piece of music. And Turnage turned out this piece called Three Screaming Popes, based on the Francis Bacon series of paintings from the 50s that started out with an 18th century or 17th century Pope thing and turned them into horror things. There was like 50 of them. But Turnage picked out 3 and wrote this monster orchestral piece that Simon Rattle recorded. I mean, it was such a big deal. And Birtwistle got really, really pissed. And so he wrote Three Popes Screaming Back at Mark Anthony Turnage. That's what it's called. He wasn't hiding his intention. And the 3 popes that are screaming back at Mark Anthony Turnage are arranged, the 3 popes are for wordless countertenor trio and organ. You can only imagine what a fascinating sound that ensemble can produce. The wordless countertenor trio is just extraordinary. And of course, the organ sonorities add a certain, gastric quality to the result, which is really quite special. And it's, I'm not going to sing it for you. I can't, my countertenor isn't what it used to be. No, I can't do it anymore. I'm sorry. I would have tried, but it just ain't going to happen. I don't know how Mark Anthony Turnage is reacting to this work, but Three Popes Screaming Back at Mark Anthony Turnage is certainly a masterpiece. And this particular note row has that visceral, gut-wrenching quality that so much atonal music has, but it has it by default. It's not because there was any intent behind it. But here the intent was entirely malignant, and the music delivers that in spades. So it's absolutely fantastic. After Bird Whistle, we only have a couple more to go here. Yeah. György Kurtág. Oh, yes. The great Hungarian composer. He's so highly respected. He writes little wispy bits of things. And this is one of his greatest masterpieces. It really is. It's in that Kurtág box that the Budapest Music Center, or whatever it was, they put out a while back. It's called Fragmentisch Fragmente Fragmentok nach Hölderlin. Of course, it has to be Hölderlin because that's all he wrote was fragments, right? I mean, Hölderlin fragments are like really popular in the avant-garde universe. So the poetry we kind of know, but it means fragmented fragments fragmentally. That's how it sort of translates. It's in all kinds of languages. Fragmentisch fragmente fragmentok. Well, you can look down. It's for speaker and muted cymbalum, because everything Kurtág wrote is kind of muted, and so it's deliberately muted. It's lovely, absolutely lovely, and the 12-note row slithers through the various fragments. A true masterpiece. And last but not least, how could we talk about 16 fabulous tone rows, unforgettable tone rows, without dealing with the one emotion, the one affect that the entire serial project is most suited to expressing? And I mean, of course, love, affection, beauty, desire, all of those wonderful erotic impulses. Oh, this is just horny music. This is so erotic. Bernard Rands, the composer, avant-gardist, contemporary composer, is married to fellow avant-gardist, or at least modernist sort of person, Augusta Reed Thomas, who was for a bazillion years the composer in residence at the Chicago Symphony. I think she's a professor at the University of Illinois now, who's written a ton of music. And the two of them are a wonderful couple. And you have to ask yourself, how does a pair of modernist serial composers proclaim their love for one another? Well, obviously, they do it by swapping tone rows back and forth. I guess they swapped other things too, but mostly tone rows. And so in this particular case, Bernard Rands decided to make his lasting affection for his beloved bride evident in arranging some of these absolutely erotic, oh my God, they're so randy, tone rows available for us to listen to. It's the Dodecaphonic Love Letters, Series 16 for unprepared piano. This one is called A Tone Row for Augusta, which is just the sweetness of it. It makes me want to cry. I tear up thinking about it. I really do. The only question in this particular work is, what is an unprepared piano? Well, you don't have to worry about that. It's just a piano. But in the modernist world, you can't have an instrument without doing something to it, right? It's for oboe with tape, or amplified trombone, or something with something. To have like a normal timbre is absolutely impossible. And so in this case, he solved that problem of the fact that it's just a regular piano by calling it an unprepared piano. I think they have a couple of kids, so it wasn't just the piano that was unprepared. But in any case, it's a delightfully warm, heartfelt, sexy, sensual declaration of love from one absolutely passionate serialist to another. And with that, we come to the end of my 16 unforgettable tone rows I couldn't live without. I can't wait to see your list. Go at it. Let's see which fabulous tone rows you have been listening to in your copious free time. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.